All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going on a journey, but not across land or sea. Nope, we're diving deep into the very nature of our own awareness. We're going to be exploring a framework that maps out 7 distinct states of consciousness, suggesting our reality is so much richer than we might think. So let's just jump right in with a big question. Most of us, we go through life in 3 basic states. You're either awake, you're asleep, or you're dreaming. But is that it? Is that really the whole story? Is the spectrum of our awareness really limited to just those 3?
Well, the framework we're digging into today says absolutely not. It introduces this idea of a 4th state of consciousness, and it's a big deal. It's described as the gateway, the essential key that unlocks all the higher states.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with that gateway, the 4th state. Then, we'll see how that leads to what's called cosmic consciousness. After that, we'll get into how our very perception of the world starts to change, leading all the way up to the ultimate union of, well, you and everything else. And finally, we'll talk about how this whole path becomes reality.
All right, section 1. Let's get into it. What is this mysterious 4th state? What's this foundation that supposedly unlocks all these other levels of awareness?
It's called transcendental consciousness, and really, it's a state of pure, unbounded awareness. The really wild thing about it is this paradox. Your body gets this profound rest, even deeper than deep sleep, but your mind, it stays completely 100% alert. They call it restful alertness, and that unique combination is the secret sauce that starts to positively influence everything else.
And you got to understand, this 4th state, it's not the end of the line, not even close. It's the launch pad. Once you've got that established, it sets you up for this really clear step-by-step journey into these higher states, where each one just builds perfectly on the last.
Okay, so if that 4th state happens in total silence and stillness, what happens when you open your eyes and get back to your day? Well, that brings us to the 5th state, where that inner silence starts to blend with the activity of your everyday life, and that creates a whole new ballgame.
This is what they call cosmic consciousness. And here, that incredible, unbounded awareness isn't something you just dip into during quiet moments anymore. It becomes a permanent feature of your life. It's just there, coexisting with everything, waking, sleeping, dreaming. It's like having this silent, totally stable backdrop to all your thoughts, all your actions, all the time.
This is where you see a huge shift in how you experience the world. See, normally, our awareness is kind of locked onto things, objects, people, what's happening out there. But in cosmic consciousness, you get a whole new layer. You're still aware of the world, for sure, but you're also simultaneously aware of your own unbounded silent self watching it all. It's not either or, it becomes both and.
And guess what? The journey doesn't stop there. The next state up doesn't just change your inner world, it completely transforms how you see the outer world too. You start perceiving these deeper layers of reality in literally everything.
So this 6th state is called refined cosmic consciousness. And here your perception gets, well, incredibly refined. You start to see and appreciate the absolute finest, most subtle qualities of an object. And this isn't guided by your brain, by your intellect. The source material says it's guided by the impulse of the heart. And that right there is the key. You're not trying to do this. You're not sitting there analyzing a flower to death. It's a natural process. As your own consciousness gets more refined, your ability to perceive these subtle layers of the world just spontaneously awakens. It just happens.
A pretty good way to wrap your head around this is to think about basic physics. We look at a table, and it seems solid, right? But we know it's not. It's layers of molecules, and then atoms, and then subatomic particles, and each of those layers has its own kind of intelligence. Well, refined cosmic consciousness is like suddenly being able to perceive those deeper layers of intelligence, not in a particle accelerator, but just in everything you look at. So, let's take that rose, for example. You're looking at it, you still see the red petals, you see the shape, but now you also perceive the finer stuff that gives rise to it, the sap, the actual life force, the intelligence that makes it a rose. You're experiencing the source and the final product all at the same time.
And that brings us to the grand finale, the climax of this whole journey of consciousness. We're at the 7th and final state now, where that last little barrier in perception, the one that separates you from the world, it just dissolves.
They call this unity consciousness, and it's exactly what it sounds like. That final separation between you, the person having the experience, and the thing you're experiencing, it's gone. The knower and the known, they become one.
And this is what the framework calls complete knowledge. Now, why that term? It's because your own unbounded awareness starts to recognize itself in whatever you're looking at. The infinite within you sees the infinite in everything else. The gap is bridged.
Okay, so we've walked through this incredible path, from the fourth state all the way to the seventh. That leaves us with two big questions. One, how is this even possible? And two, what's the big takeaway for us in our actual lives?
So, what's the key that unlocks this whole journey? Well, the framework we've been looking at points to one specific thing: the practice of the transcendental meditation technique. It's presented as the actual mechanism, the method for systematically opening the mind to that fourth state of restful alertness, which is the foundation for everything that follows.
And this really brings it all home. This isn't just some cool, abstract theory. It's laid out as a practical path. It's a path to refining how you see the world, to living from a state of deep rest and alertness at the same time, and ultimately, to reaching a state of what the Source calls complete knowledge, where you truly deeply appreciate the infinite value in yourself and in everything around you. So we'll leave you with this one last thing to chew on. This seventh state describes a reality where that line between you, the one who sees, and the world that is seen completely dissolves into one. So if that were your reality, what would you really be saying?